ова издание на Еврозум гостине Јоргос Шацимаркакис, копредседател на Мешовитиот комитет за соработка меѓу Собранието на Република Македонија и Европскиот парламент. Mr. Шацимаркакis, welcome in my program. Long time no see, first of all. But to start, what's your comment about the Council conclusions for Macedonia?
The Council, as we all know, decided to accept the recommendation by the Commission and to see it with a positive light, but not to accept the invitation to start negotiations. I think nobody is surprised. Everybody knew that the situation does not allow for a turnaround in the decision-making process. I have sometimes the impression that we play the Black Peter game, you know. The Council says, well, the Commission did not allow us to say yes. The Commission says, well, the Council. The fact is that there is a certain fatigue on all sides to deal with your country.
But anyway, the Macedonian citizens of Macedonia are in a vicious circle.
Absolutely, absolutely. As long as there is no change of mood on all sides, and you can just, you can count. Is there a change on the side of the Council? And then you have to go down to the Council. Who is the Council? There is Bulgarians, there's Cypriots, there's Greeks who say we have a problem. They openly say we have a problem, out of different reasons. As long as this is the case, the whole Council will say difficult.
But what about the Germans? I mean, do you think that if the Germans really want to see Macedonia inside the European Union, that the Greeks, Bulgarians, Cypriots, they will be able to block Macedonia? I mean, we know the example of late 90s when there was a clear political decision for enlargement. Then we have appointed Verheugen for the Commissioner for Enlargement, and it was an easy task.
It was an easy task because the countries that were involved at that time, with one exception, Cyprus, were quite easy. Yeah. Cyprus was a problem, but the European Commission...
But there was a clear decision to take Cyprus inside the European Union.
There was a clear decision. There was a clear decision. Deal done. Now, if somebody would ask, what is the Commission doing now? So Mr. Füle, who is the responsible commissioner, what is he doing now? You can't say that he's not successful. He's very successful. If you go around the Western Balkans, you will see that with Serbia, the EU has made major progress with Serbia. That was a problem all these years. Now it's on a very positive track. Croatia is member, so we don't need to talk about that. Albania will get the green light for negotiations quite soon. Albania. And of course, even Kosovo, that has made, you can say, a quant jump in the process, has moved. And also Montenegro. Montenegro is very advanced. So Mr. Füle has managed to get some movement, some dynamism.
How comes that he's successful in all the others, countries,
simple.
And not able to make any step forward in a Macedonian file?
Because the file as such has some intrinsic problems that have to do with the neighbors. And in the past we were only talking about the southern neighbor. For 3-4 years now we are talking also about the eastern neighbor. And I'm afraid that we might open a new front with the northern neighbor, with Serbia. I say this because this monument of Tsar Dujan has been erected in Skopje. As far as I'm informed, nobody knows.
But Serbians are okay with this. They have no problem with the fact that there is a
That's what they say now.
Monument. Yeah.
That's what they say now. It might change, but definitely the reaction of the Albanian and citizens, but also the Albanian on the other side, are very, very negative, extremely negative. And I see the danger that by this search on identity, somebody is searching for an identity.
Somebody, not all of us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody is looking for an identity and really searching for the identity. You overlook that on this journey to search, you are hurting others. And this is something which is strong. This Tsar Dujan issue, in my eyes, is even the strongest case because it might put danger into the Ohrid framework agreement, and that's a danger.
We saw already some reaction. Okay, yeah, but the question is, it's clear the problems are very well known. Now, when you see the wording of the conclusion of the Council, what is obvious is there is a step backward, having in mind that we had last year the very same conclusion of the European Council, but there was a clear engagement on behalf of the European Union in order to help Macedonia and maybe to put some pressure towards Greece. Now all this is disappearing.
Yeah, in order to answer this, we might take into account also that Greece takes over the presidency of the European Union.
Yeah.
So it is a situation where everybody knows, all the European institutions know that the next presidency, being the Greek one, has also the say when it comes to the agenda. And I mean, everybody knows that the Greek Prime Minister in this question has a very clear-cut view for 20 years now, a very clear-cut view. So I would say it's pretty understandable that the wording could not touch milestones that would engage the Council, because this is how the European Union works.
Yeah, but it's clear. But you mentioned the policy of the Prime Minister of Greece, and there is an obvious reality that both sides are not flexible at all. We see some pressure on Macedonian side, but there is almost no pressure on the Greek side.
Well,
from this point of view, we can't see the, let's say, European attitude on behalf of the Greeks.
Okay, there's
which
one
means
thing
to be kind of, to show some flexibility and sense from compromise.
One thing is public pressure that you might not see, and the other thing is, of course, the pressure that happens between and in the institutions. So the Republic of Greece knows, I think, because I represent the European Parliament, very well that there is a constant pressure on this issue. Don't forget the meeting of Mrs. Merkel with Mr. Niemetz. She invited him in Berlin to know what exactly is going on. It could say a lot, it could say nothing.
There was many expectation out of this meeting, but nothing happened finally.
Yeah, because the European Union has a way to function. You can criticize it, but if you're once member of the club, you have rights, and the Greeks enjoy these rights, and they make use of it. And this is how the European Union functions. On the other hand, one could question whether the flexibility can only be given on one side. It could also be given on the other side. So that is what more and more is discussed here in Brussels. I see this tendency of fatigue.
What will be the consequence out of this fatigue?
Well, the fact that my JPC...
we'll say, okay, we are really,
interest.
tired of Macedonia. So
yeah, the worst thing.
Go by the river.
No, the worst thing would be that there is a dynamism in the Western Balkans in all new countries that we know, Kosovo, Albania, Montenegro, and we know there are problems in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and of course, in our case that we discussed now. So, you see, that might also be a strategic problem for the European Union as a whole, to have, in the long run, a vision, with the exception of two countries. It's not good for us. It's not good for the Europeans. Everybody knows that. But the people should know that the flexibility can be changed on many sides. At the moment, the fatigue might turn into a no interest at all. That's, for me, a risk. I wouldn't like that. But this is what I see at the moment. You remember...
Then we are going to expect the crisis in the interethnic relations in Macedonia, and maybe this crisis, which will lead towards kind of conflict, will again take the interest on European side from the European Union.
The European Union should be interested. I would warn the European Union to turn their eyes off, because exactly 100 years ago, 2014, we should remember that 100 years ago there was the breakout of the First World War. And the reasons have to be seen in ethnic conflicts about similar questions as we discuss now. So it is dangerous, so we shouldn't switch off our interest, but I can't overlook the fatigue.
What's next? So, I mean, simply. How do you see the development of the situation since from 1st of January, when the Greeks are going to take the presidency in the European Union?
Well, as you yourself mentioned, we can't expect too much from the European agenda. So let's look into what is going to happen in your country. But, for example, there are presidential elections. The presidential elections, are they singled out, or would we have general elections as is discussed by rumors? I don't know. So it is very, very important. I'm happy to clearly say that elections are always a good thing. You have a choice, you have an opposition, you have in this case you have a strong government. So elections is good. But what will happen if there are general elections? So I think a lot of the question, or a lot of the answer, a big part of the answer, what will happen, has to do with the elections, and we will know by the end of, I think by the end of January, we will know whether there are general elections as well. So this is a very important topic. Then I mentioned already the Tsar Dusan monument. I don't underestimate it. I know that many people in general on the non-Albanian side underestimate it. On the Albanian side, it is seen very seriously, and of course, as a co-chairperson of the JPC, I'm talking to all sides. I'm talking to the opposition. I'm talking to the government. So this is of concern, of major concern to me, even if within your country, within your public debate, it might not be yet a hot and burning issue. In my eyes, it is. So a lot of things depend on that. I personally was a little bit not shocked, but I didn't like it that my colleagues here did not want to travel with me to the JPC meeting.
That was my next question. Why you cancelled 2 meetings?
Yeah, we had to cancel
2 meetings, not 1, but 2.
Okay, we had to cancel already 3 meetings. One had to do with the disease of my co-chair, Mr. Hasibi. He was in hospital, so we had to cancel and to postpone. So that's a simple reason. The other meeting was postponed because of the December events. And I want to say clearly that it was a severe question. It was something which is for a democracy and for a European Union that respects democracy, an urgent case to talk about. What we decided, though, was, I'm very honest now, to close our eyes, our ears, and to stop the clock. And I talked about this with the opposition first, and then also with the government part, because we didn't want to interfere too strongly in order to endanger the process of the European path. That is why, after long consultation, also with the opposition in the Sobranje, we decided not to go, not to talk too much. And I think it was the right decision. Sometimes you have to do this. Sometimes you have to understand the big picture, and the big picture was, don't put into trouble everything now.
Then there was a second one.
Then there was a second
cancelled again.
And this had to do with the very low participation of my colleagues. It showed me on one hand that our organizational structure here in the House might be overloaded, because it was a week where a lot of delegations were traveling.
Yeah, but it was in their agenda. I mean,
it was in their agenda, and I reminded twice my colleagues by a letter. I sent them a letter and said, please come. There's not enough participation. And in the end, it turned out that only one colleague of a small group would join, and myself. And that's not enough. Because we have two major groups in this House, and if they are not represented, this is not equal, in the equal playing field. And I didn't want then to travel alone.
In the media there was information that many of your colleagues decided to cancel the trip because of the Kajarovski case.
This was not the official reason. I read in the press later on, and I also got letters by some members of national parliaments, especially from Green parties, also from Germany, that they made a big case out of it. I have to say that it's maybe not very wise in a week before the JPC from the European Parliament comes to put into jail a journalist. It's a major event. So this is not wise, to be quite clear. But we didn't connect this postponement.
But in the background there was this, let's say,
I
motive.
addressed my partner, Kenan Hasipi, whom I regard also as my friend. I mean, I know him, I have personal good relations to him, and I told him on the phone and in my letter that the reason is simply that the participation is not high enough. The fact that some colleagues discussed the Kajarovski case on top of it is a fact I can't deny, of course.
We were surprised that even the MPs from the EPP, they have decided not to come.
That's true.
Having in mind that
that's true.
Sister party is a ruling party.
It's the sister party of the ruling party, and I really can tell you that I called some of them and I wrote twice a letter to them. And nevertheless, and that shows us, that's why I say the fatigue, that the fatigue already starts to turn into I'm not interested, and that's the problem. If we are not interested anymore, then we might not see what is happening in the country, then we might not see an early warning, we might not go for an early warning, and that is very dangerous for the whole region. It's very dangerous for the whole region, because the years of prosperity and the years of we have the European orientation in the long run, they are gone. Europe is in a crisis. It's questionable whether the European Union will survive. We don't know. We don't know. The Euro crisis has also caused a European crisis. We will have European elections in May 2014, 25th of May. We know already that in many countries, parties that are against the European Union, that are in favor of a dissolution of the European Union, are growing. So this is a real danger, and that is why we should not take it. We should take it seriously.
So if I may conclude, I mean, this next period, next 6 months, but during the Greek presidency, nobody is going to take care about Macedonia. Everybody is going to be busy and occupied with the so-called European issue, election, crisis.
Well, who takes care?
Or maybe Mr. Samaras will going to he's going to be willing to show some political will. And
I'm not sure that, but that's up to you should ask him. I'm not his spokesperson, but I mean, we still have Mr. Füle.
Yeah.
He will be in office until October this year. We still have Mrs. Ashton. She also is in office. So the two representatives of the European Commission and the European Council. Do you expect
they are going to be engaged within the process?
Mr. Füle was very actively engaged. I mean, he was really actively engaged, sometimes non-diplomatic, sometimes he did openly criticize processes, especially when it came to the freedom of media. He was very blunt, I would say. Mrs. Ashton was possibly not so engaged physically. She was maybe not visiting the country, but whatever we do, we always inform also the High Representative. So the ones that you say who will take care of the country, they are still in office, they are still in place. And the Lithuanian presidency that is now in office, did they visit Skopje? No. So the presidency normally does not really take care. The question is whether it is high on the agenda, the issue. And for the next 6 months, it is understandable, it is logical, and it's not surprising that during the Greek presidency
it's up to us.
It's also up to you. It's also up to you. And I would say to an even bigger extent than I thought when I took over this office of chairperson of the JPC. When I took over, I was not aware.
Till the end of this mandate as an MP, are you going to come again in Macedonia? Or?
Yeah, we plan to come. We planned to come in the first week of February, and unfortunately, the Conference of Presidents, that's so the highest decision-making body in the Parliament, did not allow that. But they didn't also allow to the Chinese delegation, also to the delegation going to China, and to another delegation, to the NATO delegation, because they said no, we are strictly bound on certain time frames. The time frame that we have is the presidential election in March. And after that, our term ends. So we really need to find a way how to find a compromise between seeing our colleagues in the Sobranie. It might be that the only way out is that they join us again
here
in Strasbourg.
In Strasbourg, yeah.
I can tell you why Strasbourg, because it's the best week. And secondly, our last meeting, JPC, was quite successful because we had for the first time in the history of the JPC a unanimous vote in the end of the resolution. We have always a final resolution. And I wouldn't have a problem in these difficult times to invite my colleagues from the Sobranie to come to Strasbourg, to have 2 busy days. In Strasbourg we will have a lot of attendance by my colleagues because they are there anyhow, and to have again a strong...
Before the election it will not be an easy task. Anyway, what's next with you personally, with your political career? You go in a Greek political scene?
I decided after the European crisis, and especially the Euro crisis, which had the major front between Greece and Germany, as many people know, and I was exactly in between that, to leave the German political arena and to join only for the European elections, a Greek list.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Шацимаркакис.
Благодарам.
Го гледавте интервјуто со Јоргос Шацимаркакис, копредседател на Мешовитиот комитет на Собранието на Македонија и Европскиот парламент. Ви благодарам за вниманието.